All right. Hello, people of YouTube land, those that are part of the Cringe Crew gaming community Discord, those that follow Ted and I on Twitch, and to the people listening to this on Spotify and wherever we decide to post this. I am Traductus.
And I'm Ted.
And this is the Cringe Crew gaming community movie review podcast. And this is where Ted and I, we take a director's filmography and we review every single feature-length movie. Today we are still covering Tarantino. And we are covering Inglourious Basterds. Finally got to that point. That being said, I can't believe I exited out of that. I had everything ready. I was fine, but nope, there has to be something scuffed with us.
I can't help it. It's in the name, dude.
There we go. So, we have Inglourious Basterds, released in 2009, May 20th, 2009 in Cannes. August 20th, 2009 in Germany. I wonder how the fuck they were able to release that in Germany, because I know the swastika is illegal there. And then August 21 in 2009 in the United States. Had a budget of $70 million, had a box office return of $321.5 million, making this Tarantino's biggest box office return until it was surpassed by Django Unchained and also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. See here, we're gonna go into cast while we're going through background. We have Brad Pitt as Lieutenant Aldo Rain, also nicknamed Aldo the Apache. He is the head of the Bastards. We have Eli Roth as Sergeant Donnie Donowitz. For those who don't know who Eli Roth is, he directed Hostel. His character also has the nickname the Bear Jew, which he would beat Nazis to death with a baseball bat. We also have trying to see different BJ Novak as Smithin Utovich. We have Omar Doom as Omar, another member of the Bastards unit. Sam Levine as Hirschberg, another members of the Bastards unit. Also have Michael McCall as Michael Zimmerman. Paul Rust as Andy Kagan. Carlos Fidel as Simon Sakowitz. And I think that's all of the people that were in the Bastards. Okay. And then we have Melanie Laurenette as Shoshana Dreyfus. She is a French Jewish cinema owner whose family was executed by the villain of this, and she's planning on taking revenge by blowing up the movie theater that has all like these Nazis in it. We also have Christoph Waltz as Startenführer Hans Landa, who is pretty much the villain of this movie. His job is to hunt down and find Jewish people in hiding and arrest them. We also have Michael Fassbender as Lieutenant Archie Hickox, a British commando who assists the Bastards in a mission that they have to do in France. We also have Diane Kruger as Bridget von Hammersmark, a German film star who is also a double agent for the Allies. Mike Myers is also in this as like as a English general. There's like a bunch of people that have like different like little cameos in this. but I think I got like the main people
Yeah, I think you're there.
in here. Also, Samuel L. Jackson narrates the film. Also, Harvey Keitel voices an officer of strategic services. So that's pretty up there with Tarantino. And also Tarantino is in this film as a pair of hands because he has to strangle someone to death.
Oh, we'll get there. No, don't do it now. We'll get there.
Okay, so I'm not going to give the reasoning behind that. All right. Now, originally, this was actually supposed to be the plot of Kill Bill, like Shosanna's part in this entire thing, where she would like kill each like Nazi person like one by one. However, that was, you know, obviously changed. And this was actually originally first thought of as like a miniseries, but he decided to trim the script and used Pulp Fiction as a guide for like the length of this movie. And production was supposed to be in 2005. However, Tarantino was cast an acting role in Takashi Miike's Western film Sukiyaki Western Django, and he then ended up directing Death Proof, and then returned to work on Inglourious Basterds. And the film's title is actually inspired by an English language title by the director Enzo G. Castellari's film Inglourious Basterds. It's just spelled, Bastards is actually spelled correctly as opposed to Basterds in Tarantino's movie. Now, Tarantino originally was going to cast Leonardo DiCaprio as Hans Landa.
I don't think that would have been awful. It would have been distracting, but I don't think it would have been bad.
Yeah, but he wanted to actually have like a native German-speaking character, and then obviously Christoph Waltz got that, and Christoph Waltz was actually very hesitant too because he thought like the part might have been unplayable, but figured, you know, screw it.
Fuck it, we
and Pitt and Tarantino, also Brad Pitt wanted to work with Tarantino for many years and was just waiting for the right project, and this happened to be it. For the role of Donnie Donowitz, that was originally supposed to be played by Adam Sandler. However, he declined it due to scheduling conflicts with the movie Funny People, so Eli Roth got it instead.
Honestly, good choice not having Sandler. God damn.
Oh, oddly enough, actor Rod Taylor, who I guess he was in the movie The Train Robbers, Young Cassidy, and A Matter of Life and Death. He was retired from acting and no longer had an agent, but came out of retirement when Tarantino offered him the role of Winston Churchill in this movie. Also, Mike Myers was also a fan of Tarantino, and actually wanted to be cast in this film due to Mike Myers' parents being part of the British Armed Air Force during World War II. And I think that's about as detailed as we can really, get into this without giving away certain things here.
Yeah. I think that brings us to plot, right?
Yeah.
All right. So plot is basically okay. There's an introduction sequence because, of course, Tarantino has one. They let this Jewish girl who is hiding in a farmhouse get away. This girl then goes to form her own plot to kill Hitler, and then this American squadron goes also to have this plot to kill Hitler, and then it's just the conglomeration of two plots to kill Hitler. Basically, it's a movie about murdering Nazis. Simple enough.
Absolutely.
You want to start with likes or you want to start with dislikes?
I'm giving you the floor on that.
All right. I think my dislikes list is shorter, so I think that's the easier place to start, to be completely honest. I think... Okay, so the first and most obvious dislike I have is that I think there is a very strangely bold use of language jumping. This movie uses a pretty equal balance of English, German, and French.
And with a little bit of Italian thrown in there.
Not really. No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Only one person actually speaks fluent Italian.
All I'm saying, so there's a weird, like, I think there's some purpose to every language that they use, but I think it's difficult for a speaker of any one of those three languages to follow along, in the sense of sometimes there's subtitles, sometimes they're using another language dialogue to fill space that isn't dialogue, but it makes it look natural or whatever, and then there's also the idea that, like, sometimes they're throwing language in places it doesn't need to be. And even though it's natural, I guess you never get past the idea that, like, it's a film and they could have just given it to you in English if it's something they really wanted you to know.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad or incorrect the way that it happened. I'm saying that it was a bold choice. In a way that's kind of slightly unpleasant, excuse me. Another thing that I disliked was that there were, much like I explained in the plot, there are two, like, big plots that kind of
converge.
Right. And
oddly enough, like, they both would not be successful by themselves.
Well, both plot lines are important, right? I think my issue is that there are weird, like, cuts where one plot is significantly longer than the other, or it's just a weird cut into, like, hey, I was super invested in this thing that you've been showing me for 20 minutes, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter because we're on the other plot line now. You mentioned Pulp Fiction as, like, a guideline for length in this movie. And I think the benefit to Pulp Fiction was that they were in, like, 10 to 15 minute snippets, right? You never felt too invested in this one plot line because it would jump to another in an amount of time where you could kind of gauge how everything was interacting. And I think this one was more, or was less aggressive in terms of make sure you're keeping track of all of these things. It would give you a long enough snippet to be really invested in this one thing, to immediately be drawn away to something else where you never see how the thing you were invested in plays out. It kind of detracts from the storytelling a little bit. Another bit, Stallman, as you mentioned, I said we would talk about it later, and here we are.
Should I say why Tarantino's hands are in this?
Look, I think that there are a couple portions of this movie that detract from its own storytelling so that Tarantino can stroke his dick to his own movie. Yeah. The first and foremost being that there's no need to separate this into chapters. You can just fucking tell a story, you pile of shit.
That was my biggest fucking thing, especially like the fucking title sequences. It's the same fucking typeface. And what's even worse, now I'm actually going to pay, because I was actually talking with someone who goes, oh, and by the way, because I was bitching about this to a friend of mine, a friend of mine actually finally mentioned, it's like, oh, by the way, Tarantino uses the same brand of cigarettes. You should really like
Yep.
Now I'm gonna fucking look for that.
It's a weird, like, borderline autistic sense of consistency in a way that's like, I have to include this or else I'm gonna freak out, man. And like, it's mind numbing, right? In Kill Bill, I understand because that was the method of storytelling, right? In Pulp Fiction, I get that there are chapters or sections or whatever because there are so many converging plot lines. This has no need to give me a title sequence other than stroking your dick to a film festival, okay?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely none. But there's everything from that to the idea that Tarantino puts himself in the movie so that he has an excuse to touch a woman. He replaces Christoph Waltz to choke a woman. He casts himself with his own hands to choke a woman because he needs to know what human touch feels like. He needs the thrill of actually putting his hands on a woman in a way that feels real instead of just, you know, being able to make a movie where we recognize we're not trying to kill actors and actresses. Stoneman, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to yell and then I did.
Yeah. His thing was like, well, it's either the actor's gonna go strangle her too hard or too soft, and he knew, like, he was like, I know exactly how to
choke a woman just right.
Right.
Fuck yourself. This isn't goddamn Goldilocks. Just let a guy fucking do it. He's not gonna kill anybody. Fuck right off.
But she was actually getting kind of strangled because, like, her eyeballs were kind of getting popped out and her vein was, like, showing. Like, she said she didn't feel like she was in danger, the actress, but, like, she's just like, well, I guess the director's just fucking strangling me. All right.
It's just, there are an unnecessary amount of things that get weird amounts of investment. And I think it's like, while it can be an absolute trope of every movie we've seen so far from Tarantino, I wholeheartedly believe that, like, this one makes it the most in your face and evident in a way that's pretty uncomfortable. Granted, you don't necessarily know that they're Tarantino's hands. Don't get me wrong. But, like, as a part of our process to review the movie, those are the kinds of things that we do, in fact, know. And it just... It's incredibly frustrating to know that, like, only I can do this right. You can't touch a woman right. I can touch a woman right. It's... Man... I was going to give him credit later on, but I guess I'll do it now, that, like, for being a movie that features the Nazi insignia, like, literally thousands of times, this is his least problematic movie. And somehow he still manages to find a way to make me call him personally a piece of shit. If they had removed the Nazi insignia from everywhere else, I would still say, nah, you're a piece of shit for glorifying things you shouldn't. Like, I don't know, volunteering yourself to choke a woman. Fuck right out of here, dude. I'm done with Tarantino.
Still got, like, what, three more. God damn it.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to forget Hateful Eight. Oh, Jesus Christ.
For me, I think that's really it for dislikes. Like, they're not super huge. There's not a ton of them, but they are notable that they're there. So, what else you got for dislikes?
The title sequence, the Tarantino-isms is what is literally my dislikes in this. I think it kind of gets in the way with a lot of the storytelling. I also am a little annoyed that this movie's basically all, like, exposition until you get to basically the theater, but it doesn't do anything. It's not as egregious as, shall we say, as, like, Kill Bill 1 is to Kill Bill 2, or, like, how, like, Death Proof is.
Look, there is a lot of exposition and there's a lot of slow parts, right? But, like, I think everything's valuable here. It doesn't ever feel like it's building to nothing.
Right, and at the same time, it makes you think, how do these cross paths? Because you know they're going to cross paths, and then you're kind of wanting to see how this all pans out. It's not like you're given, like, a ton of exposition. You don't give a shit.
I guess my, like, there is kind of like a feels bad in the movie, right? When you design a movie that the plot line is kill all the Nazis, right? That there is a lack of action, but it's not necessarily a negative because everything's important. You're never wondering, like, why does this matter? How does this tie in? Like, why do I need to know this? Why are you spending so long on this, right? It's not like it drags. It's not like it's bad. It's just like, it's kind of I wish there were a little more action, but I wouldn't even call it a negative for me personally. I do hear what you're saying, and I think it's valid, but I think
to me, it's not really a negative. It's just an annoyance. Like, it doesn't detract from the film whatsoever. It's just seeing this type of trope so many times in a Tarantino film, I'm kind of over it.
That's reasonable.
Like, just give me a goddamn we haven't had a story since fucking Reservoir Dogs.
Oh,
it's just
no.
a story.
That one I'm hard disagreeing with you. This
well,
one's
no,
a
yeah,
good
I forgot
story.
Jackie Brown. Yeah.
No, this one's a good story. Like, it really is. It's a little longer than it needs to be, but it's genuinely a good story.
I'm talking about without having, like, a ton of prologue, you know?
I don't know that any of this is prologue. Like, this is the first time in quite a while, probably since Jackie Brown, to be honest with you, that I would say that the scope of the story is actually good, where it starts at a reasonable place, ends at a reasonable place. I don't get too much on the front end, too much on the back end, too much in the middle, right? Like, or it's stupid, incessant details where there don't need to be, right? Like, I think this one is genuinely a good grip of, you got the start, you got the end, you told the story in the middle the right way. Like, I think this one genuinely does a good job at that. Is that it for you for dislikes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't really have a lot of dislikes on this.
Yeah, there's not a lot of negatives. The positives are certainly much more abundant, and I think they're more poignant.
Nazis die. Hitler dies.
Obvious positives, yes. You mentioned Hitler dying, and I think that's a really good place to start. So the very first,
brutally, might I add,
the very first time you watch this movie, right? Even if you know the plot, right? Like, even if you can kind of guess how it's going to end, there's always still this shred of doubt. In the sense of, I know that the Americans never killed Hitler in real life. So maybe they'll find a way to fail this in the movie. Right? Like, not to spoil beyond, like, this is not a historical fiction movie. Right? This is an absolute dramatization of a situation that 100% never happened. The only tie-ins to real life are everybody wanted Hitler dead, and they tried. Like, that's where the similarities stop, right? Like, all of this is fiction. But because it's based on real-life events, even the things that you know can't be true are still a possibility. Even if you talk yourself into good guys always win because it's a movie, you can talk yourself out of it. And I think it adds a level of suspense that I'm not sure how intentional it was, but it makes the investment in the movie a whole lot stronger. And I want to give a really huge plus at the way that they were able to like capture that and use it to make a successful movie. Like, I give that a lot of props.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the casting's really well done, for the most part.
Outside of the actual group of bastards, I would agree with you. Like,
that's what I'm saying for the most part. I'm saying, like, Christoph Waltz.
No one would ever believe BJ Novak is a soldier for goddamn anything other than the chess club, right? Like no shot. But like, all of the characters who get large speaking roles, you can buy into, and I'll give you credit. I think everyone who's cast into the role does a good job. I don't think Brad Pitt does a bad job in this movie. When I say that, I think he was the worst amongst the main characters. Like, that's a really good bottom line, to be honest with you. I think the characters who are important do a really good job. And to that credit, I think cinematography is fantastic.
I think it's probably like the best that it's ever been in a Tarantino film.
The camera work was fantastic. I think that they set designed in a way that benefited the cameras having their motion, having their grip on what you were seeing and when. They used a lot of continuous shots. They used a lot of cut shots, and all of it felt like it was in the right place. And even Bud joined us for the past like half an hour or 45, or the last half an hour and 45 minutes of the movie. And even he noticed that like they did a really good job at blending sound, so that sound that was ambient and in the background transitioned in a way that wasn't jarring and in your face, right? Like I think the cinematography, the filming, like the actual capture of what they wanted to capture was done brilliantly in this movie.
Also really would like to add, there's also little tidbits even with like the side characters of like the bastards themselves, like how there's a scene where they're all the last three of, well, there's four bastards that are left, but three of them are in the movie theater, and only two of them speak Italian, but like they don't really have that great of like an Italian accent. The one that doesn't know how to speak Italian whatsoever, who just like learned a few words of Italian and like I don't know within like the hour's time that they've had, I think it's funny how he's the one that actually pulls off the accent the best, and I really wonder if that was intentional. If it was unintentional, that's funny, but if it was intentional, that's a pretty hilarious Easter egg to throw in, you know, a pretty hilarious joke to throw in there, you know.
I think another positive for me is the, like, I don't want to say the plot itself because I think that's too big picture for what I'm going for.
Right.
I think the way that they guide you towards the plot is is super well done and thought out in a way that feels more, I don't know, intellectual is not the word I'm looking for, but it's the one I'm going to go with. Like it's more intentional and strategic than it has been in other Tarantino movies,
and even
right?
with the research being done, with like, you know, the British soldier giving himself up by ordering 3 drinks instead of 3 drinks.
Well, I think that like this wasn't like 17 plots that you could loosely tie together and call a movie like they did in Pulp Fiction. They made 2 very thorough, very well drawn out plots that, like you said earlier, relied on each other for both of them to complete. And I don't think that the 2 of them halfway failing but then still completing works without the other plot being so long and drawn out and thorough. And it feels like there's a whole lot of thought and a whole lot of investment that goes into both things to converge into one, that this feels so well manufactured as a movie direction that I think deserves a lot of credit here, more than I thought I would ever give Tarantino for some of the dumb shit we've seen so far.
Right. I also really like the Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa. I think he nailed it out of the park, and I do like the character as a villain, because like you could easily just made him like a mindless fucking like, you know, Nazi drone, but he's someone that is, you know, literally he doesn't buy into like the propaganda or anything. He's literally doing his job just to up his social status, and is just entirely Machiavellian, which honestly just turns him into like an even bigger slime ball. It's not like someone there's like, oh, the dude's brainwashed. No, he's not fucking brainwashed at all. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. And with him just being like very smart and calculating, he becomes like an even more scarier villain as opposed to like a mindless drone.
Yeah, I can give you credit to that. I think that all of the characters in this movie, like, so I'll take the scene.
A lot of them are selfishly motivated, yes.
Not even that, right? I think that like everybody has their own interest in mind. Nobody's a background character. Nobody is doing things that you can't explain, right? So take the in the bar scene, right, where the bastards are supposed to meet up with Bridget von whatever something Hammer. I forget her fucking name because it was 18 syllables too long. But like the idea is that there is a soldier there who is obviously trying to talk to the famous movie star. And then
Right.
he's also motivated by the kid they didn't need to write in. And then there's a standoff that he's able to get talked into surrendering specifically because his wife just gave birth, right? Like there's so many developments to characters that like they feel excessive if you really boil it down, but the way that the movie is written, it keeps things flowing, and nobody has too much, nobody has too little. It makes the whole thing drive in a way that I very much enjoy. You know, if you take that same bar scene and you made this a Christopher Nolan movie rather than a Tarantino movie, right? Would
have been at the beginning.
It would have been 35 seconds, right?
At the beginning.
No, wherever.
Well, half of it would be at the beginning, then some of it would be in the middle, and then
but a
little bit at the end.
Shut the fuck up. My point here is that it would have been 35 seconds because it would have been very quick cuts, very intense music. This is what you need. Let's get out. They wouldn't have created the suspense. They wouldn't have created the drama. They wouldn't have like tied you into another character to make you nervous for the characters that existed, right? But they give everybody a backstory in a way that matters. It all feels important. It all feels valuable. It all adds suspense to the plot line they're trying to tell. It gives this movie a sense of importance in a way that doesn't detract, and I think that's like a real grip on the art form that Tarantino's been trying to do for 7 movies now. I think it was super successful.
Yeah, I full-heartedly agree with that. You got anything else to add?
Nothing big and meaningful. No.
Yeah, nothing. I guess we'll go into rankings.
This one's pretty easy for me. This one's first. I look, I like Jackie Brown. I like the.
I know.
It was good. I don't think that there was a well thought out piece that we've seen that was nearly as good as this. Inglourious Basterds was really fantastic. And also, there's the plus on top of it being a good movie that they killed a bunch of fucking Nazis and punished the ones that survived for being Nazis. If that's not fucking cosmic justice, I don't know what is.
Well, I agree. Mainly because I think, like, even though, like, I really like Jackie Brown, that's usually, like, my favorite Tarantino movie, but, like, to me, like, especially from an objective stance, I think, like, the movie is like better casted. I think that the plot itself is more developed, and it's also better shot as well. And there's a lot of things that are definitely more there's a lot more importance, like you said, with like the plot pieces, while there's some stuff in Jackie Brown where you can kind of take or leave. So I really think like Tarantino finally kind of, like you said, perfected making a movie that he, you know, actually wanted to try to make.
This feels like the ultimate project of his. This feels like all of the other pieces were learning experiences to create this, and I think the subject matter only amplifies the fact that he mastered what he was looking to do for 7 other movies. I think this one was really well done. As much as I fucking hate to put a Nazi movie first, and how much I hate Tarantino to give him credit for anything, I think this one was definitely his best and a really good film. All right, well, yeah. I think that brings us to the end. I don't think we got anything left, so thank you all for watching. We appreciate you hanging out. As always, you can hop in the Discord and watch movies with us, typically on Mondays. The link to that will be in the description of the video, or wherever the fuck you're listening to this podcast. It'll be linked there. You'll find it. If you're interested in our own content, both of us stream on Twitch. Stallman at Traductus, myself at Ted Green Eagles. Both of those should be linked as well. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you here next week with
Django Unchained.
That one. Yeah. All
Where
right.
we get to see Christoph Waltz as a good guy.
All right, we'll see you guys here next week. Thank you. Adios.
See ya.